Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargav, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about Infosys being called anti-national and part of the Tukde Tukde gang by a magazine affiliated with the RSS. We also take a quick look at the update on the construction of the Ram Temple. But first, we talk about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Very soon, there are going to be 14 crore ration bags with the picture of Narendra Modi printed on them. There are also going to be 5 crore Thank You Modi Ji postcards that will be sent from across the country. Plus, there is also going to be a massive social media push and seminars about his life. And this will all be part of a 3-week-long campaign by the BJP, which the party will roll out to showcase Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The campaign will coincide with his 71st birthday. In this segment, Ravish Tiwari, Indian Express's bureau chief, joins us to talk about it. So Ravish, BJP is planning this massive campaign in an effort to showcase Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And this is coinciding with his birthday on the 17th of September. Could you talk about what significance does this campaign have?
This is a party program, first of all. So this is nothing to do with the government. But the party is very cleverly using government schemes to bolster its image in the mind of common public. And for that purpose, they have identified a couple of schemes which people can easily associate with. They want to ride on the back of the personal popularity of Prime Minister Modi to spread BJP as deep, as wide as possible. And they think that they need it this time more than, say, a couple of years ago, is because there has been a general despair or a popular anxiety after the second wave, or the way it devastated families, communities. And also, politically, the BJP lost what it thought was a winning West Bengal Assembly elections. So these two things have had cast a shadow on the aura around BJP's political idea. So they're using Prime Minister Modi's birthday as an alibi, as a vehicle to reach out to masses. So that's the political idea behind this Happy Birthday Modi 3-week drive is.
Yeah, and you mentioned the second wave, and one thing that comes to mind is that during that time, during the peak of the second wave, there was a lot of criticism that PM Modi was not addressing the nation. And some people within the BJP had also said that it was not the right time for PM to show his face. But now, I suppose, with the second wave kind of behind us, the party might be thinking that now is the time to do this, to promote him again.
So in politics, the issue is about timing of your communication. So when we constantly kept checking why the government and the political executive is not speaking out during those 2 months of April and May, when the second wave of COVID-19 was ravaging across the country. And we came with our information is that it was a well thought out strategy, that the people are so much in despair that they are not going to trust politicians' faces. There is no point us being on the forefront. Rather, they thought it's better to be behind the scenes and trying to iron out some supply issues that was creating the problem in oxygen supply, medicine supplies. So they thought that their work should speak more. But eventually it turned out that all the preparations fell short as compared to the demand during at least those 2 months. So either way, the decision not to communicate and decision to stay behind the curtains and work to iron out the difficulties did not pay out during those 2 months, definitely. So that was a situation that created a lot of criticism for the party and the government both. So now is the time when vaccination is at least going slightly more smoothly. The cases are in control, barring a couple of states, a couple of regions. So there is more acceptance. People are moving on to normal economic activities, daily lives. This is the time when it's better to go and reach out. So that's how the timing seems to be working out. Prime Minister's birthday seems to fall around that window. So might as well the BJP is trying to use that opportunity.
And talking about this 3-week-long campaign, what are some of the biggest things that the party is planning to do?
So the biggest thing that being seen and will be seen and felt in rural pockets will be the decision to hand out ration bags. So the government in the first wave and then in the second wave launched one welfare scheme that were per person 5 kg of free food grain. So India was saddled with extra stocks of wheat and rice, and they needed to off. So this the government took use of that extra food grains in the central pool to distribute freely to the poor and vulnerable sections. So around 80 crore people are likely to benefit from that. So last year it was from March till Diwali. This year again, this is from second wave till Diwali. So if for a family of four, it's about 20 kg of food grains free per month they're getting. It may amount to in the local market price for the whole duration will be around 4,000, 5,000 rupees. So 4,000, 5,000 worth rupees of grains is being distributed freely by the central government. The cost is not borne by the state. So the BJP is cleverly using that since the grain of central government where Modi is in power, why not we just supply a 25 rupees or 15 rupees bag with Modi's pictures painted on it to carry those food grains. Usually in a ration shop across the country, the ration is distributed in open and people bring their own bags, fill it up and go home. In this place, BJP is supplying this 10 rupees or 25 rupees worth of a bag with Modi pictures on it with 20 kg per month of free food grains. If that goes to every home, and as the BJP General Secretary who is overseeing this entire drive told party leaders that unlike wall paintings that we do, it gets washed away during rains or different activities, the bags will be preserved by homemakers for different usage later. So the name of Modi, BJP will be in their houses for longer than on the day of food grain distribution. So they have targeted around 14 crore bags to be distributed. Just think of 14 crore households having Modi faces on bag in their homes. So this way you are reaching out, and so it's a government scheme. By embracing this scheme this way, BJP will seem to suggest to a normal public that these grains were made available free of cost by the BJP. So they are latching onto this scheme to popularize BJP, at least among poor sections of the population.
And through this specific plan, the party is also planning to reach women voters, right?
Yeah, it's both poor and women. These are the two constituencies Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in particular in the BJP pantheon, have given extra attention to carve out a niche electoral base for the party. So all his beneficiary-oriented schemes since his first term has been trying to target women and the poorer section. So whether it's a toilet scheme which benefits women, whether it's a Ujjwala gas connection, it benefits women, and all these targeted benefits went to poor households. Awas Yojana also went to poor households. So poor and women, if we catch on to them, they are going to be enduring voter base compared to middle classes or upper sections, which keep changing their political opinions based on the mood in the country or the pervasive political discourse. So this also helps them target women and poor electorate.
Okay, so one big thing is PM Modi's face being printed on 14 crore ration bags. What is another thing that stands out for you in this campaign?
So the one thing during the discussion came out, the BJP General Secretary, while explaining the scheme, highlighted the criticism by Rahul Gandhi about a vaccination drive. So he said that, don't forget, we have been able to inoculate at least 70 crore people at least once. So we should not be on the back foot. And that's why every BJP worker during this 3 week try to visit the nearest vaccination center and get their videos for thanking this free vaccination drive and inundate social media streams to say that no, the things are going smoothly and vaccination is reaching far and wide and remote corners of the country. So in a way, the one criticism during the second wave was the second wave came because we were not prepared for vaccination to the extent we wanted it to be. So propagating that how the vaccination is going smoothly and free of cost to the ordinary public is another thing which they have designed in their 3 week drive, which they call Seva and Samarpan.
So the BJP feels that now is the right time to highlight the image of PM Modi with the second wave being past us. But is there a sense that this campaign might not bode well with the farmers who have been protesting for over 9 months, especially considering now that their movement has gained prominence again?
It's a debatable point because there are different perspectives. The BJP as a ruling party is still considering farmer protests largely geographically confined. Agitation is confined geographically to Punjab, and outside Punjab, it's confined largely to one farming community, that's a Jat community, which are in Haryana and Western UP. And they think that it does not resonate as much in other parts of the country. So largely, they think that their publicity drive and trying to create a sense of how the Prime Minister Modi and the BJP government trying to do all good things, they don't think it will clash outside these two geographical community baskets. So this is how they are calculating. How it plays out, we'll have to see during those 3 weeks, how it is received by the common public as BJP workers reach out and fan out across the country.
And Ravish, I'm guessing the party also has the upcoming UP elections on their minds. And PM Modi has always been the main face of the BJP election campaigns. In West Bengal, for example, it was essentially a Modi versus Mamta battle, but it didn't turn out that well for the BJP in the state. So with this new campaign, does it seem like the BJP will continue to use this strategy in the future as well?
For the timing, yes, because every two assembly elections are different. So you can't conflate the results and the dynamics of West Bengal elections on UP. So Mamta Banerjee there is an incumbent leader. She has her own standing and she had a historical credibility for her political struggle of dislodging West Bengal Communist Party in the West Bengal, the long entrenched Communist Party. So that and Modi battle played differently. The similar way it may not battle because here he is going with Yogi Adityanath. He will be propagating Yogi Adityanath because he's the incumbent chief minister who is from his own party. He will be challenged by opposition leaders Akhilesh Yadav and Mayawati of the BSP. So it will be completely different dynamics. But the state BJP, as it appears, it knows that they need to supplement their state government Yogi with Narendra Modi's popularity. And this exercise, in fact, in the last few weeks, one of the video conference meetings Prime Minister Modi took was about this, again, food grain distribution scheme, where these bags are being distributed in UP. So he has already done one session to propagate, and the state government is also helping distributing similar bags in Uttar Pradesh. So this activity in a way will help them revive party cadres ahead of elections. So to see it this way, this exercise has been given to party workers, which will revive them, which otherwise had gone dormant after the second wave. There was a kind of despair. Everybody was trying to figure out what happened. Economic activity had slowed down. A lot of social life was disrupted. So as these activities pick up, this is a full-blown political activity which will revive the cadres ahead of elections.
And next we talk about the RSS, that is the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh, the organization which is considered the ideological parent of the BJP. Last week an article was published in a weekly magazine affiliated with the RSS. This magazine is called Panchjanya, and the article in question was about Infosys, which is one of India's biggest tech companies. The article attacked Infosys and suggested that it was working at the behest of anti-national forces. This article was the cover story of Panchjanya, and it said that the company may be deliberately trying to destabilize the Indian economy and accused it of helping Naxals, leftists, and the Tukde Tukde gang. The article said all this in the context of the glitches in the new income tax e-filing portal, which Infosys developed. In this segment, Indian Express's Deeptiman Tiwary joins us to talk about it. So Deeptiman, the magazine Panchjanya is essentially considered a mouthpiece of the RSS. Now an article published in it called Infosys anti-national, and that created a lot of controversy. Could you talk about what is the significance of this accusation, this labeling?
Well, first let us understand what Panchjanya actually said. Panchjanya made some very significant claims and made some serious accusations. It said that Infosys, in context of the glitches that have been found in the IT portal which it has created, is perhaps trying to deliberately destabilize India's economy. And this, they're saying, is based on the company's past and certain circumstances around it, which they say includes their alleged funding of certain websites which do fact checking or are not perceived to be in favor of the incumbent government. And they have said that by doing this, they are supporting anti national forces in the country and are helping Tukde Tukde gang. They've even said that their top management is filled with Marxists from Bengal and that this poses a threat of influence from China and the ISI. These are some very, very serious claims. And coming from Panchjanya, which is, though RSS denies that it is the organization's mouthpiece, but everyone considers whatever is written in Panchjanya as a reflection of the RSS thought process. And so it is very, very significant because let us remember that BJP is an offshoot of the RSS and a key magazine of the RSS making such serious accusations against the blue chip company of India matters a great deal because it shows what the parent organization of the ruling party in the country perhaps thinks about a big corporate of India.
And these accusations that Infosys is part of the Tukde Tukde gang, it's anti-national. I mean, these are the kind of accusations and vilifications we've heard being targeted at activists in the past, those criticizing the government and opposition political parties. But is this the first time we've seen it being targeted at a big Indian corporate?
Absolutely. This is perhaps the first time that a big corporate or a big company has been targeted with these terms. There have been criticism of certain companies, yes, from the quarters of the Sangh Parivar, but to call them supporting anti-national forces or divisive forces of the country or call them part of Tukde Tukde gang, which is something that the BJP and the Sangh Parivar have often used for anyone who is opposed to the government or protest against a government decision. So these kind of terms have been used for anti-CEA protesters or in some terms for farm laws protesters or for certain NGOs which have tried to corner the government on certain issues or for activists who have openly spoken against the government or the Sangh Parivar. So these are the people who have been labeled as anti-national or Tukde Tukde gang. Certain sections of universities such as Jamia Millia and JNU have been labeled like this, but never big, and that to a very, very respected company in the country.
So the article in Panchjanya said this in the context of the new income tax e-filing portal, which was developed by Infosys, having glitches in it. But did the article in any way provide proof about Infosys supposedly being anti-national or, intentionally trying to destabilize the economy?
Interestingly, the article itself admits that it has absolutely no evidence to support the statements that it is making. It says that these are accusations. It cites certain social media posts, certain tweets, which they say they do not have any corroborative evidence to substantiate these allegations, but they keep saying that these are allegations and accusations which must be investigated. The only thing that they cite is funding of certain websites which are critical of the government and the Sangh Parivar and its ecosystem. So the article is actually totally full of conjectures and insinuations. It does not show that it has conducted any sort of investigation on its own to come to these conclusions, or it has conducted any sort of due diligence. None of that is visible in the story, at least, that they have written.
And considering that this was an attack on one of the most respected Indian tech companies, and considering that the article was published in a magazine affiliated with the RSS, which again we know is very closely linked to the BJP, what kind of reactions did we see from people within the government and others in the Indian tech industry?
Well, if we see, there was hardly any reaction from the government, barring the RSS itself seeking to distance itself from the article and praising the company in a tweet from the RSS spokesperson, where he said that it is a respected company and whatever glitches that are there in the IT portal, will be fixed by the company. And he clarified that the Panchjanya is not a mouthpiece of the RSS. From the quarters of the Indian private sector, TV Mohandas Pai was the only one who gave some opinion on it, where he said that whoever had written the article perhaps did not have an idea of how government contracts are given and how they are implemented and what are the difficulties that are faced when these huge and massive projects are implemented. Barring that, most of the corporates chose to be silent or neutral about all of this, which also says something about atmosphere that is there.
And you mentioned that the RSS did try to distance itself from this entire thing, but on Thursday, one of their spokespersons did praise the magazine, right?
Let's look at it this way, that when the RSS spokesperson Sunil Ambekar said that Panchjanya is not RSS's mouthpiece, so he only said that it is not our official version. He actually did not dissociate the Sangh Parivar from the magazine, and it would be very difficult to do that because according to Panchjanya's own admission, Deen Dayal Upadhyay, who founded the Janasangh, it is said that Deen Dayal Upadhyay had a seminal role in establishing and shaping the magazine. Then let's remember Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a former prime minister who had been an RSS worker all his life, was the first editor of Panchjanya. And since then, if you look at the various names who have been editors of either Panchjanya or organizer, the English version of the magazine, have all been from the RSS, be it K.R. Malkani, L.K. Advani, Bhanu Pratap Shukla, Vinay Nand Mishra, or Devendra Swarup. They have all been from the RSS. In fact, there is a board of directors which publishes this magazine. There is a company named Bharat Prakashan which publishes these magazines, and the company is managed by a board of directors. Most of the board of directors are actually members of the RSS or have been associated with the RSS in some way or the other. Also, the editors of Panchjanya and organizer are special invitees to the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha Baithak of the RSS. The Pratinidhi Sabha is the highest decision-making body of the RSS, and only key representatives of RSS affiliates are invited to this annual meeting. In this meeting, key decisions of the RSS and appointments of key people are done and taken. So, obviously, RSS in no way can dissociate itself from Panchjanya, and actually, to be fair, technically it has not done so.
And Deeptiman, without the ruling party saying anything about it, without criticizing it or going against it, does it sort of give the impression that it might be the ruling party that has a problem with Infosys and the glitches in the income tax e-filing portal?
See, the government does have problems with the way the e-filing portal has been put up and operationalized, and that is why before this article had come out, Nirmala Sitharaman had summoned the CEO of Infosys and given him a deadline of September 15 to fix the glitches. So, yes, government does have a problem, but that is a problem which is of the technical arena, of an administrative arena. Now, what Panchjanya has written is a problem of the ideological arena. Now, on that, the government has not said anything. Even after the publication of the article and its explosion in the media, the government has remained silent. Unless the government says something in favor or in against, we do not know what the government is thinking. If it supports it, then it must probably investigate it. If it does not, then it must say so, that it does not. Or perhaps the government wants to just simply ignore it because it thinks it is not significant.
And what reaction have we seen from Infosys during this time?
Infosys has not reacted to the entire episode. They have been strictly silent. So we don't exactly know what Infosys thinks or wants to say about the whole episode.
And in the end, we talk about the Ram Temple. The filing work at the construction site for the Ram Temple in Ayodhya has been completed, and the project is on schedule with the temple expected to be open to the public by December 2023, just ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. An official involved with the construction of the temple said that a review meeting was held on August 27 to August 29, where it was noted that the construction work is proceeding as per schedule and the plan to enable devotees to have darshan of Lord Sri Ram by the year 2023 seems to be within reach. The review meeting was attended by the treasurer of the trust, the general secretary of the trust members, and the committee and officials of Tata Consulting Engineers and Larsen & Toubro. To ensure the longevity of the structure, which will be built entirely of stone, the construction team, after soil testing, had decided to dig 12 meters deep to build a foundation. Subsequently, the 18,500 square meter site of the foundation was filled with roller compact concrete as per the specifications of the expert committee. Sources said a thorough structural analysis of the temple to be built has been done against earthquakes, and that the temple's campus would include pilgrimage facilitation center, museum, archives, research center, auditorium, gaushala, yagyashala, and an administrative building, among others. You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargav, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.